brothers of the sword. I'd rather fight beside you than any army of thousands. Let no man forget how menacing we are. We are lions!
Once again, feminist overlords. This is coming to us from the Daily Caller. Space Force commander relieved from duty over comments criticizing Marxism, critical race theory, in U.S. military. Guys, I just did a video about the calling, which is the new Army ad campaign, recruitment ad campaign. These things are real. This is what's taking place right now. And it's actually pretty awesome that we have a Space Force commander. I don't know why. That's just ringing pretty cool in my ears. This is written by Greg Price. A U.S. Space Force commanding officer was fired from his post on Friday after expressing concern on a podcast that Marxist ideologies are becoming prevalent in the U.S. military. Oh, becoming. I like when people use terms like, oh, it's on its way. No. It's there. Okay. Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Lohmeier, commander of the 11th Space Warning Squadron at Buckley Air Force Base in Colorado, was relieved from duty over a loss of trust and confidence in his ability to lead. So, asking questions, like that's one of the things that like the best leaders do, ask and answer, questions. But we don't have no trust and confidence in his ability to lead, a Space Force spokesperson told military.com. This decision was based on public comments made by Lieutenant Colonel Lohmeier in a recent podcast. Lieutenant General Whiting has initiated a command-directed investigation on whether these comments constituted prohibited bipartisan political activity, the spokesperson added, as if Marxism, critical theory isn't partisan political activity. So much projection. It's so much projection. And when it comes down to, Space Force is this idea, right? That Space Force is new. It was Trump's thing. So they should all be on board with Trump's stuff. I'm sorry, guys. That's just not how that works. I mean, we heard during the waning days of his presidency, how colonels in the field were sitting there basically lying to him about numbers and stuff like that, and and bullshitting him, saying, yeah, we're getting rid of about 15,000 troops, when in reality, no, we're not gonna be doing any of that. We're just gonna wait you out, and that's exactly what's happened. So yeah, trust me. Once again, this has been in these spaces for the longest time. Jack Prosobic's tweet, a U.S. Space Force commander was just relieved of command for speaking out against critical race theory. He felt so strongly about how it's ruining our military, he wrote a book about it. Space Operations Commanders had now placed him under investigation. That's the gentleman right there with his lady. All right, cool beans. She's attractive. Okay, Lohmeier earlier this month self-published a book titled Irresistible Revolution, Marxism's Goal of Conquest and the Unmasking of the American Military, which is described as a timely and bold contribution from an active-duty Space Force lieutenant colonel who sees the impact of a neo-Marxist agenda at the ground level within our armed forces. Okay, so it's not about the book. It's about what he said on the podcast, despite the fact that, my man wrote an entire book. He appeared on the podcast, Information Operation, with hosts L. Todd Wood, to promote the book, and spoke out against U.S. institutions, including the military, increasingly adopting leftist practices like critical race theory, which is, yes, it's the Marxism and socialism and communism that it operates as a deodorant for, is they say it themselves, right? Everybody who believes in these things, believes in the intersectionality and the gender game, they say this themselves, like, yes, I'm a trained Marxist and the like, and these are political stances. So it's rather hypocritical for them but they don't believe in hypocrisy. It's so crazy because, like, due to their own circular logic, they don't believe it's a hypocrisy. They believe, oh yeah, we're getting rid of the wrong mindset and the wrong mentality. And unfortunately, that's really not what this country's based off of. That's really not a practice in which this country should be taking part in. But here we are, once again, feminist overlords. The diversity, inclusion, and equity industry and the trainings we are receiving in the military is rooted in critical race theory, which is rooted in Marxism, Lohmeier said, which is true. They've said that themselves. Lohmeier also said he doesn't demonize Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, but I want to make it clear to both him and every service member, this diversity and inclusion agenda, it will divide us. It will not unify us. And he couldn't be any more correct. I mean, guys, we're a generation that grew up with Burger King Kids Clubs and Mortal Kombat and all of these things that were just presented to us in a diverse manner, and no big deal was made out of it, because that's the entire point of of all the goals, that all these lofty goals that the critical theories want to interject, right? It's like, hey, it shouldn't be a big deal, right? But when you yourself, when you are taking your ideology, shoving it into folks' faces and making it a big deal, well, you get backlash. You're going to have far more resistance, as opposed to what had naturally taken place in this country over, the past 30 or 40 years, by proxy of us just, living together, working together, and, being in movies and stuff like that, and having a whole lot of different, a whole lot of things that could unite us. You've over the past, 5-6 years, all of those institutions have gone out of their way to divide us. The NBA, the Disneys, the Marvels, all this other fun stuff, everything that we used to escape together to enjoy without having to worry about politics and the like, have been infiltrated by this exact same ideology. He also took issue with Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby, who Lohmeier claimed said there are too many white pilots. Oh my God, these folks, I just want good pilots. Can we just have good pilots? If you want to provide that kind of messaging to your already struggling pilot force, you can already expect to see further retention problems, Lohmeier said. Lohmeier told military.com in a statement that he had consulted with his chain of command, public affairs, and legal counsel before publishing the book, and that his intent was never to engage in partisan politics, but to alert the public about the increased polarization in the military. I have written a book about a particular political ideology, Marxism, in the hope that our Defense Department might return to being politically nonpartisan in the future, as it has honorably done throughout history, he said, which honestly is an honorable intent. And by relieving him of duty, you kind of proved his point. Right or wrong? Well, that's the question that I'm leaving with you guys. With that being said, we're going to bring this one to an end. All the internet stuff. If you like it, toss it like, dislike, go ahead, do that too. Nobody's scared of you, sub. If you enjoy my fantastic voice and want to get videos like this every single day, share, because sharing is caring. And YouTube and Bitchute and like aren't the biggest fans of your boy over here for very obvious reasons. Bang the bell for notifications. Get something from Teespring. Check me out on Patreon as well. Links in the description. Actually go into the description box and do damage and speak. Let me know. What do you guys think in the comments? Yeah, he did absolutely nothing wrong. And and the way we generally do things, at least here in the U.S., is we were supposed to have the conversation, and like, oh well, if it's like you feel that way, but trust me, we're not politically partisan. Get rid of this guy because he goes against our political partisanship. I'm telling you, bonkers. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Until the next one.
Men, we don't know what we did.